Before your life can change on the outside, it has to first change on the inside. People want the cars, the houses, the promotions, and the recognition, but they don't want to deal with the transformation of their mindset. The mind is the soil where wealth either grows or dies. If your thinking is limited, your life will always stay limited, no matter how many opportunities come your way. What you allow to take root in your thoughts determines what eventually shows up in your life. There are people who are carrying the talent, carrying the ability, carrying the resources, but their mind keeps sabotaging them because they cannot picture themselves having more. They disqualify themselves before they even step into the room. It's not that they don't have the capacity, it's that they can't imagine it. You will never rise above the level of your thinking. When your mindset is poor, you will waste opportunities that come your way because you can't recognize them. You'll spend money recklessly, make decisions out of fear, and sabotage your own progress. But when your mindset is trained for wealth, even the smallest opportunity becomes a seed that can grow into something significant. If you can think it, if you can picture it, if you can imagine yourself walking in it, you have already stepped into the first stage of wealth. Before the money comes, before the increase comes, you must shift your perspective and begin to see yourself worthy of wealth. If your thinking is beneath you, your living will always follow it. A wealthy mindset begins with an understanding of worth. You have to know that you were not created to barely make it. You were not designed to always struggle. There is potential on the inside of you waiting to be unlocked, but it cannot be released until your mind aligns with it. The problem for many is not a lack of resources, it's a lack of belief. They have everything they need to move forward, but their thoughts have convinced them otherwise. The moment you shift your thinking, the rest of your life begins to move in that direction. Everything starts in the unseen. The thoughts you nurture, the ideas you cultivate, the vision you hold inside, those are the true foundations of wealth. If your inner world doesn't change, your outer world will remain the same. Scarcity is a lie that whispers in your ear, telling you there's not enough to go around. It tells you that if someone else is blessed, that means you cannot be blessed. It tells you that if someone else succeeds, there's less room for you. That mindset is a trap because it keeps you competing with others instead of focusing on your own lane. Scarcity makes you cling to what you have, afraid to lose it, afraid to risk it, afraid to invest it. It convinces you to hold tightly to crumbs instead of realizing that you have access to a bakery. The scarcity mentality keeps you small because it makes you believe that resources are limited, when in reality, opportunities are all around you. The person with a wealthy mindset doesn't see lack, they see possibilities. They don't walk into a room counting who's better than them, they walk in looking for ways to add value. The scarcity thinker asks, what if I lose? The abundant thinker asks, what if I win? That's the difference. If you grew up in lack, if you've struggled for years, scarcity thinking can feel natural. You've been conditioned to believe that you must hustle for scraps, but that conditioning has to be broken. Scarcity has nothing to do with your environment and everything to do with how you train your mind. When you're trapped in scarcity, even when you do get blessed, you live like you're still in poverty. You're afraid to enjoy it, you're afraid to invest it, you're afraid to release it because you don't believe it will come again. But abundance thinking knows that resources flow, that opportunities multiply, and that increase is a cycle. Your mind must be trained to see abundance everywhere. Look around. Nature itself screams abundance. There are more stars than we can count, more sand than we can measure, more opportunities than you can imagine. If creation reflects abundance, why would your life be any different? Scarcity thinking holds you back, but abundance thinking propels you forward. The moment you break free from scarcity, you begin to see yourself as unlimited. And when your thoughts are unlimited, wealth has no choice but to start flowing into your life. Money is not supposed to control you. It is supposed to serve you. The moment you make money your master, you lose focus on your purpose. People chase money thinking it will fill a void, but money was never designed to be the source of your identity. When your thinking shifts, you stop running after money and start attracting it through vision and value. Those who see money as their master are constantly stressed, constantly less, and constantly fearful. They can't enjoy what they have because they're worried about losing it. They compromise their values to get more because money dictates their decisions. That's not wealth. That's slavery disguised as success. Wealthy thinking puts money in its rightful place. It says, I control the money. It doesn't control me. Money is simply a servant. It is a vehicle to expand your vision, to bless others, and to create impact. When you understand that, you stop chasing money and start chasing purpose, knowing that money will follow. You cannot attract unlimited wealth if you have an unhealthy relationship with money. If you think it's evil, you'll resist it. If you worship it, you'll misuse it. You have to train your mind to see money as neutral, a tool in the hands of the one who knows how to use it. The wealthy mindset says, I don't work for money, money works for me. That means every dollar has an assignment, every resource has a purpose, and every increase is leveraged for something bigger. Money must have direction, otherwise it disappears. When your mind is aligned, money stops being emotional. You no longer feel guilt for having it or fear for losing it. You simply manage it as a steward. You give it direction, you multiply it, you release it when necessary, and you invest it where it will grow. Money is only powerful when it's put to work. A dollar in your pocket does nothing until you assign it. When your mind sees money as a servant, you stop being desperate for it and start being strategic with it. Wealth doesn't just appear in the lives of people who desire it. It shows up in the lives of those who are disciplined enough to sustain it. Discipline is the structure that wealth requires. Without it, increase will slip through your fingers. You can pray for wealth, dream about wealth, and even step into wealth. But if your habits are reckless, your wealth will drain faster than it arrives. Discipline means teaching your mind and body to obey a vision, not impulses. Impulses say, buy it now. Vision says, wait and invest later. Impulses say, sleep in. Vision says, wake up early and get it done. Discipline trains you to prioritize tomorrow over temporary comfort. If you can master discipline, you can master wealth. You don't lose wealth because money is scarce. You lose it because your mindset isn't structured to handle it. People win the lottery and go broke in a year, not because the money wasn't there, but because discipline wasn't there. Discipline is the invisible hand that keeps the doors of wealth open once they've been unlocked. When you start disciplining your thoughts, your spending changes. You stop buying what you don't need to impress people who don't care. You start building reserves, investing wisely, and living intentionally. A disciplined mind refuses to live in the cycle of lack because it knows how to direct resources toward increase. Discipline is not just about money. It's about time, energy, and focus. If you waste time, you lose opportunities. If you waste energy, you lose momentum. If you waste focus, you lose vision. Discipline trains your mind to protect what matters most so that increase has room to flourish. When you live with discipline, people will call you strange because you don't spend like they do, you don't move like they do, you don't waste like they do, but those same people will one day ask you how you did it when they see the results. Wealth doesn't respond to excuses, it responds to discipline. The disciplined mind says, I can handle more. It proves by its consistency, by its patience, and by its sacrifice that it is ready for increase. When your mind is disciplined, wealth cannot resist finding its way into your life. Expectation is a magnet that pulls opportunities toward you. If you wake up every morning expecting failure, expecting loss, expecting disappointment, You program your mind to reject blessings. But if you train your thoughts to wake up expecting doors to open, expecting ideas to flow, expecting favor to find you, your life begins to bend toward that expectation. What you expect, you prepare for. A person who expects increase doesn't live like someone who expects lack. They manage their time differently. They carry themselves differently. They speak differently. Expectation sets the tone for your behavior, and behavior attracts results. If you expect nothing, you won't see opportunities when they show up because your eyes aren't trained to recognize them. But when you live with expectation, even small doors look like big chances. Expectation sharpens your vision and trains you to see increase where others see obstacles. Your expectation must go beyond your current situation. You might be broke now, but if your mind expects increase, you won't stay broke. You might be under pressure now, but if your mind expects growth, you won't stay under pressure. Expectation lifts your spirit above the moment and sets it on the future. Training your thoughts to expect increase is not blind optimism. It's a discipline. It's refusing to let setbacks dictate your mindset. It's declaring that even though yesterday was rough, today can bring something better. Expectation is not denial of reality. It's faith that reality can shift. People who expect increase prepare before the opportunity even arrives. They write down ideas, they sharpen their skills, they get ready in advance. They don't wait for the door to knock. They live like the door could knock any day. That kind of thinking attracts favor. A wealthy mind expects growth. It expects expansion. It expects opportunity. It expects resources. When your thoughts are trained to expect increase, your life begins to align with what you believe is possible. Your mouth reveals the condition of your mind. If you constantly tell yourself, "I can't do it," "I'm broke," "I'm not enough," those words sink into your subconscious and become your reality. Negative self-talk is like a leash around your potential. It keeps you from running freely into what's available to you. Every time you say, "I can't," your mind shuts down the ability to find a solution. Every time you say, "I'll never make it," your brain stops searching for opportunities. Your self-talk shapes your mental programming. If you feed yourself defeat long enough, defeat becomes all you know. Training your mind for wealth requires you to monitor and shift the words you speak over yourself. Even if you don't feel it yet, you must begin speaking differently. Say, "I can." Say, "I will." Say, "I'm capable." Your words set the thermostat of your life. Negative self-talk often comes from old wounds, past failures, and environments that conditioned you to believe you're not worthy. But just because you've heard something doesn't mean you have to repeat it. Your mind must be retrained to speak life instead of death, abundance instead of lack, possibility instead of defeat. If you tell yourself you are broke, you'll keep making decisions that keep you broke. If you tell yourself you are wealthy, your mind starts creating strategies that align with wealth. Words are seeds, and whatever you plant will eventually grow in your life. Your future cannot afford the luxury of negative language. Every sentence you speak is either building your wealth or blocking it. Every time you declare something over yourself, your subconscious begins to respond. If you want to attract wealth, your self-talk must be filled with strength, vision, and confidence. Wealthy thinkers speak wealth into existence. They affirm it daily. They declare it boldly. They repeat it until it becomes second nature. When your language changes, your mind changes, and when your mind changes, your reality has no choice but to change. The people around you are mirrors of your mindset. If you surround yourself with people who complain, gossip, and dwell on lack, your mind will reflect their negativity. You cannot grow wealth in an environment that constantly waters poverty thinking. Your circle matters because your circle feeds your thoughts. Wealthy thinkers challenge you, they stretch you, they refuse to let you settle for small thinking. When you are around them, you cannot remain comfortable with mediocrity. Their conversations pull you higher, their habits inspire you, and their ideas expand your perspective. If you are the smartest, richest, or most disciplined person in your circle is too small. Growth requires discomfort, and discomfort often comes from being around people who are operating at a higher level. Surrounding yourself with wealthy thinkers forces your mind to adapt and rise. Negative environments drain your energy. They make you doubt yourself. They convince you that dreaming big is unrealistic. But when your environment is filled with wealthy minds, you are reminded daily that increase is possible. The atmosphere you live in becomes the training ground for your thoughts. Wealthy thinkers don't just talk about money, they talk about vision, impact, purpose, and strategies. Being around them shifts your conversation from problems to solutions, from excuses to execution, from fear to faith. The language of wealth becomes normal to you. Sometimes you have to separate to elevate. It doesn't mean you hate the people you leave behind. It means you love your future enough to protect your mind. If your environment is toxic, your thinking will be contaminated. A wealthy mind protects its environment the way a farmer protects good soil. Surrounding yourself with wealthy thinkers is not optional if you want wealth. It's essential. The people you listen to daily are programming your thoughts, and your thoughts are attracting your life. Ignorance is expensive. You can't attract unlimited wealth if you refuse to learn. The difference between the wealthy and the struggling is often not effort, but knowledge. Wealthy thinkers understand that information is currency. They invest in books, mentors, courses, and conversations that expand their perspective. Your mind cannot grow beyond what it feeds on. If you're only feeding on entertainment, gossip, and distractions, your thoughts will stay small. But when you feed on wisdom, strategies, and ideas, your thoughts begin to stretch. Knowledge opens doors that talent alone cannot unlock. Investing in knowledge is not just about money, it's about time and effort. Are you willing to read when others are sleeping? Are you willing to study when others are wasting hours on things that won't grow them? Knowledge requires sacrifice, but that sacrifice multiplies your wealth. The wealthy know that you don't have to make every mistake yourself. You can learn from others. You can shorten your learning curve by listening to those who've already been where you want to go. That mindset saves you time, energy, and resources. When your mind is filled with knowledge, your conversations change. You no longer talk about surviving. You talk about strategies, investments, and innovations. Knowledge elevates the language of your mind, and that language attracts opportunities. Knowledge also builds confidence. When you know what you're talking about, you move differently. You present yourself differently. People trust you more because you've trained your mind with substance. Confidence backed by knowledge is magnetic. If you want unlimited wealth, you cannot afford to stop learning. The moment you stop learning, your wealth stops growing. Knowledge is the fuel that keeps the mind of wealth moving forward. A poverty mindset magnifies problems, while a wealthy mindset magnifies solutions. Two people can face the same obstacle, but one sees defeat while the other sees opportunity. The difference isn't the situation, it's the mindset. Your ability to train your mind to see solutions determines whether you move forward or stay stuck. Problems will always exist, but the question is what you focus on. If all you see is the size of the mountain, you'll never climb it. If you train your thoughts to search for a path, a strategy, or even a new perspective, the mountain becomes conquerable. Wealth is attracted to problem solvers because they create value. Every great invention, every thriving business, every wealthy person is connected to a solution. They saw something broken that others ignored. They saw a gap others complained about. While others sat in frustration, they trained their minds to ask, how can this be fixed? That mindset turned into wealth. If your focus is always on what's wrong, your creativity dries up. But when your mind is trained for solutions, you become resourceful. Even when you don't have money, you have ideas. Even when you don't have connections, you find a way. The mind that seeks solutions never stays stuck for long. Wealthy thinkers don't deny problems exist. They simply refuse to stop at the problem. They acknowledge it, but they train their brain to ask, what's the next step? What's the answer? Where's the opportunity hidden inside this challenge? That shift opens doors others can't see. Your life will always move in the direction of your focus. If you focus on problems, you will multiply problems. If you focus on solutions, you will multiply opportunities. It's not about what you face. It's about how you train your thoughts to respond to what you face. The wealthy mindset lives by solutions. It refuses to stay trapped in cycles of complaint. It refuses to dwell on why it won't work. It only asks, how will it work? And in answering that question, wealth begins to follow. Gratitude is more powerful than most people realize. When you're ungrateful, you close the door to increase. When you live in constant complaint, you block opportunities. But when you train your mind to live in gratitude, you create an atmosphere that welcomes more. Gratitude shifts your energy, your focus, and your expectations. Ungratefulness keeps you blind to blessings already in your hand. You could have 10 good things and 1 problem, but if your mind fixates on the problem, you'll miss the value of what you have. Gratitude retrains your thinking to recognize wealth even in small beginnings. The wealthy mindset celebrates progress, no matter how small. It gives thanks for today while preparing for tomorrow. Gratitude doesn't mean settling. It means acknowledging that what you have is valuable while still believing for more. That attitude attracts more because it shows you can be trusted with increase. Complaining drains your energy. Gratitude fuels it. When you live with gratitude, you carry a spirit of contentment that keeps you from making desperate decisions. Instead of rushing into traps because of fear or frustration, you move with wisdom and clarity. Gratitude also changes your relationships. People are drawn to those who are grateful, who honor the help they receive, and who recognize the value others bring. Gratitude builds connections, and connections are a pathway to wealth. When you practice gratitude daily, your perspective shifts. Instead of seeing lack, you see potential. Instead of dwelling on what you don't have, you train your mind to maximize what you do have. That shift multiplies opportunities and draws increase into your life. Gratitude is not just an emotion, it's a discipline. When you choose to be thankful, even when it's hard, your mind stays positioned for wealth. Gratitude unlocks doors that complaining will always keep shut. You cannot attract what you cannot imagine. If your mind can't see it, your life won't reach it. Visualization is not fantasy. It's training your brain to align with the reality you desire. Wealthy people spend time seeing themselves living at a higher level before it ever happens. Visualization programs your subconscious. When you consistently picture yourself succeeding, your brain begins to accept it as possible. Your decisions, actions, and behaviors begin to shift in alignment with that vision. What you see internally creates momentum externally. If you only visualize struggle, failure, and defeat, your life will follow that picture. But if you train your thoughts to hold images of wealth, progress, and success, you'll find yourself making choices that align with those images. Your mind must see it before your hands can hold it. Visualization doesn't require money. It requires imagination. You can be broke today and still visualize yourself walking in abundance. You can be in a small apartment and still visualize yourself in a house of your dreams. The picture in your mind is the blueprint your life begins to build. When you visualize, you activate creativity. Your brain starts looking for ways to turn the vision into reality. Ideas begin to flow. Resources begin to align. People begin to appear who can help you. Visualization sets everything in motion because your mind is now moving toward a target. Wealthy thinkers know the power of a mental picture. They use vision boards, affirmations, and mental rehearsals to keep their imagination alive. They don't let their current situation erase their inner vision. Their wealth begins with what they choose to see. The future you want must be seen before it is lived. Visualization trains your mind to recognize it, believe it, and expect it. What your mind rehearses becomes what your life attracts. Too many people delay their wealth because they're waiting for someone else's approval. They think they need validation before they can act, but wealth doesn't come to the timid, it comes to the bold. If you're waiting for permission to prosper, you'll be waiting forever. The wealthy mindset understands that you don't need a stamp of approval to move forward. You don't need everyone to agree with you. You don't need everyone to understand your vision. If you know your value and you know your purpose, that's enough to begin. Waiting for permission keeps you stuck in fear. You delay decisions. You hold back ideas. You bury opportunities. But when you train your mind to move boldly without waiting, you activate momentum, and momentum attracts increase. People will doubt you, people will question you, people will even try to discourage you, but you can't train your mind to live off their voices. Your wealth is tied to your courage, not their approval. Every wealthy person had a moment where they moved forward without permission. They launched the idea, wrote the book, started the business, or made the investment even though no one was clapping for them. They gave themselves permission to prosper, and that mindset produced results. Permission is a trap because it ties your destiny to someone else's opinion. The moment you cut that tie, your mind becomes free to explore, to innovate, to risk, and to grow. Freedom in your thoughts produces freedom in your life. If you want unlimited wealth, stop waiting. Move now. Believe now. Act now. Your wealth doesn't require approval. It requires action. Wealthy people don't just think about one stream of income, they think in streams. But before you can create streams in your bank account, you have to create streams in your mindset. If your thoughts are limited to one source, one job, one way, you'll never expand into overflow. The wheel, thy mindset trains itself to see possibilities everywhere. It asks, what else can I do? What other skills do I have? How else can this grow? That kind of thinking multiplies opportunities. Before the streams show up in reality, they flow in your imagination. If your mind is stuck on one way to earn, you'll panic when that one way is threatened. But if your mind is trained to think in streams, you never fear loss because you know other sources exist. Wealthy thinkers are not limited to one avenue. They build networks of possibility. Multiple streams begin as ideas. They start as small concepts, side projects, and simple strategies. But when your mind is trained to expand, you nurture those ideas until they grow into major streams. What starts as a trickle can become a river if you believe in it. Training your mind to build multiple streams also frees you from desperation. You stop clinging to one paycheck. You stop depending on one opportunity. Your mind is open to create, to diversify, to explore. That kind of freedom attracts wealth. Wealthy people didn't stumble into multiple streams. They thought them into existence. They trained their minds to see beyond the obvious. They believed that they were capable of more than one avenue, and life rewarded that belief. Before you can live in overflow, you have to think in overflow. Train your thoughts to multiply streams, and the streams will find their way into your life. Fear is one of the biggest enemies of wealth. Fear tells you not to try, not to risk, not to step out. Fear whispers, "What if you fail?" But a wealthy mind learns to silence fear with courage. If you let fear dictate your financial future, you'll always live below your potential. Fear keeps people stuck in jobs they hate. It keeps them from starting businesses, from investing, from pursuing new opportunities. Fear convinces them that safety in the familiar is better than the risk of the unknown. But the familiar is often the cage that keeps wealth away. Wealth requires risk. It requires faith. It requires stepping into territory where guarantees don't exist. The wealthy mindset doesn't deny fear. It faces fear and moves anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to act in spite of it. If you wait until you're no longer afraid, you'll never move. Fear never disappears. It must be trained into submission. The more you step forward, the weaker fear becomes. Every time you act in faith, your mind learns that fear doesn't have power over you. Fear magnifies losses, but courage magnifies possibilities. When your thoughts are dominated by fear, you only see what could go wrong. When your thoughts are trained for courage, you begin to see what could go right. That shift is the difference between stagnation and wealth. Wealthy thinkers use fear as fuel. They turn nervous energy into action. They let fear remind them that the step is big enough to matter. Instead of running from fear, they move through it. Their mind is trained to see fear not as a stop sign, but as a signal to grow. Your financial future cannot be dictated by fear. If you want unlimited wealth, you must train your mind to feel the fear, but still take the leap. Greed repels wealth. Service attracts it. Wealthy thinkers understand that money flows toward those who solve problems, meet needs, and create value. The mind that only thinks of self eventually runs dry, but the mind that thinks of serving multiplies endlessly. Every successful business, invention, or idea is rooted in service. Someone saw a need and met it. Someone saw a gap and filled it. That act of service in the door to wealth. Greed, on the other hand, only asks, "What can I take?" Service asks, "What can I give?" When your mind is trained for service, you stop chasing quick gains. You stop cutting corners. You stop manipulating. Instead, you build something sustainable, something people trust, something people return to. Service creates loyalty, and loyalty creates wealth. Greed produces emptiness. Even when it gets money, it loses peace, relationships, and integrity. But service produces fulfillment. You not only gain wealth, you gain impact, you gain respect, you gain a legacy that lasts longer than money itself. Wealthy thinkers are problem solvers at heart. They wake up asking, "How can I make life better for someone else?" That question leads to innovation, business, and expansion. Service turns into strategy, and strategy turns into wealth. Your wealth will always be tied to how much value you create. If you make yourself valuable to others, resources will flow toward you. That's not luck. That's the law of service. When your thoughts are trained for service, greed loses its grip. Your wealth becomes an overflow of the value you add, not the shortcuts you take. Wealth thinking is not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. Every day you must train your mind to align with abundance. Every day you must silence the doubts, the fears, and the voices of poverty that try to creep back in. The mind must be renewed constantly if wealth is to flow consistently. Old patterns are stubborn. Even after you've made progress, old habits of fear, lack, and negativity try to return. If you don't renew your mind daily, you'll slip back into the very cycles you broke free from. Renewal keeps your thinking sharp and your focus clear. Renewal means feeding your mind with the right thoughts every day. Read something that grows you. Speak affirmations that strengthen you. Surround yourself with conversations that elevate you. What you consume daily is what trains your thinking. The mind is like a garden. If you don't tend it, weeds grow. Those weeds are doubt, fear, laziness, and negativity. Renewal is the act of pulling those weeds out before they take over. Wealthy thinkers guard their thoughts the way a gardener guards fertile soil. Renewal also means adjusting your mindset as you grow. What worked last year may not be enough this year. Your capacity expands as your wealth expands. If you don't renew your mind, you'll limit your future by clinging to outdated thinking. Daily renewal keeps you disciplined. It keeps you grateful. It keeps you expectant. It keeps you aligned with solutions, visualization, courage, and service. Without renewal, wealth thinking weakens, but with renewal, it grows stronger every day. Unlimited wealth is not attracted to a stagnant mind. It is attracted to a mind that renews itself, that grows itself, that trains itself daily to rise above the old and step into the new.